This is ColmCooper, by the way. COOPER? Okay. How important is it to see your county in an All-Ireland football final?
It's very important, really, because they haven't been there for 11 years. They've won it 4 in a row before, but they haven't done it in 11 years, so they really need this one.
Colm, tell me about your links with football.
We have 4 brothers in the Cork senior team, so I have a lot to live up to, really.
I was over the Crokes junior team. The coach came along then, like, and I suppose he used to be coming out there the first thing you'd hear in the morning with a ball hopping. I suppose he was only about 4 or 5 at that stage, like, you know. He never done any ball in his hand. He'd be throwing the ball at the kerb. Would never miss the kerb to come straight back into his hands. Colm's a lovely boy, like, you know. We never seen him without a ball, never.
His parents, Mike and Maureen, and we all moved into the houses at the same time. They all grew up together, my children and the Coopers. There were 7 of them there, and they were always out playing together from morning till night. And Colm always had a ball in his hand, and he hitting it off the gable of the houses.
You go up to Fitzgerald Stadium or Archicave or up to Crow Park, and you're looking down the Colm, see a boy from across the road playing in the green and gold. We're overcome with pride and emotion. Our Shan is this is his home, this is his place. And I said, this is where he grew up, this is where he learned to play football.
Colm would have been the youngest of the boys, right? And you had the 2 girls in Geraldine and Karen. Sports mad, of course. You would have no problem finding them anyway. They'd be above in the field if you were looking for them. You couldn't meet a nicer family in your life. They were fabulous people.
Living in Archanavoody, or officially known as Archan to the locals, it was great. You know, there was a gang of kids my own age around. There were some younger and some older. We just played every sport. Every evening when everybody was home from school, it was eat your dinner, get your homework done, and it was up to the field then for 2 or 3 hours every night. And it was just so much fun. It allowed huge freedom, and I think very much creativity and imagination as well, which at that age you find and you have loads of as well. And I think I actually embraced all that, and it probably developed me as a player and shaped me as a player. So when I went out on the field, I was always thinking instinctively of what's going on around me and how I could impact and create around me. So I think that largely came from my upbringing and spending hours and hours out on the pitch and out in the estate.
The 2 key things to it from Colm's point of view were the greens. There's a green at the front and there's a green at the back, and it brings home the simplicity of an Irish childhood back in those years. But that's where he grew up, and that's where he felt the first tackles that hurt him and felt the first little ripples of bravery come into his own body.
So that's where probably he honed most of his skills there. You know, if you could survive in that battlefield against older fellas, you know, he learned to look after himself. Never forgotten where he's come from. He's always come from a working class estate in Killarney. He was just one of the boys.
My mum was from Cremon, back near Killorglin. I was the last child along, so probably the spoilt one as well. My dad was from Glenflesk. His house was the last house in the Kerry County bounds before Cork. So there's always a bit of stick with the Cork fans that I could have been on the other side. One of my fondest memories is that on any given weeknight, myself and himself would get into the car and I'd have a ball under my arm and we were going after some match. Even if it wasn't a Dr. Crokes match, somewhere in East Kerry there would be a match on and we'd just take off and go. He loved it so much, and I think he loved meeting people as well. And I was part of that, you know, and even I'm getting flashbacks now thinking about it. So they were great memories. Sometimes I think in life you find what's for you. And I knew very, very early that the GA was going to be central to my life.
Sa bhliain 1992 a haigh ColmCooper Páirc Chrócaig den Géadúir. Lá ar a bheith vertrathar a gimmertown leis na Chrócaig a gluthe ceannis na glob a gcuine chumann Tomás Dá Víis ó Á Clia.
He had a couple of brothers on that team, and Gooch was their mascot, this tiny little fella in a tracksuit. But what that tells you is the Cooper family were so deeply immersed in Dr. Crokes.
I was at training every night with my brother, so whether the ball was going over the bar or into another field, I was the one to get it. So I was around the dressing room all during the year. I remember the chairman and secretary of Crokes coming to my house, and maybe a week before the match, saying, "We'd love you to be a mascot on the day. You've been involved in the team all the year. We think it's something you'd love to do." And quite literally, I didn't sleep that night with excitement. I just remember it like it was yesterday, getting on the train in Killarney, my bag over my shoulder, I got a new tracksuit. Still have that tracksuit at home.
60 minutes to decide where ultimate honour goes. The Kingdom of Kerry or here, the City of Dublin.
At that time, Kerry probably weren't at the top table of the GA. My first trip ever to Croke Park.
Denny Cooper with an effort that goes over the bar. That's a very good point by Denny Cooper.
And what makes it extra special is Dr. Crokes winning on the day. They're just great memories that they'll never leave you. And that time, the dressing rooms were in the Canal Inn, they were in the corner. And I remember coming out and thinking to myself, I'm going to play here someday.
What about yourself? What about your ambition?
Well, hopefully I'll go on to play for Kerry someday. But I'll win a couple of county titles at Crokes and a couple of medals at Crokes and one play for Kerry then hopefully.
I was probably smaller than everyone growing up, so I was easily pushed off the ball. But what I did have was my skill level was always really, really high. It's more difficult to find someone with a footballing brain. You can work with someone in the gym. You can do core exercises with them. You can't tell them how to make the right decision in a match or kick left and right and have the vision of what's going on around them. So give me that small kid all the time, and and that was me.
He kind of broke onto the senior team around his 17th birthday with the club. We played in Guelph in the county final, and they had a lot of very good players, Darragh Canada, the O'Sheas, the McGarrels.
Snéan chiad báute a hána trasna Gooch, ní dólam greibh seach 6 bliana díog, agus lead óg, lead anna hennaí a fad, hí na skillan ar fad a gé fiú bhánig an drásan.
Kerry County football was no place for the faint-hearted back then, and they played in some really wretched days, but of course he had his 4 brothers on the team as well. And this little wraith of a lad suddenly became a factor for Dr. Crokes, and that catapulted him into the consciousness for Kerry.
A bhaachas dá haspáanta sí leis na Chrócaig, tugadh colmisteach ar an bhiniúr chiaí a 2001. Níor bhada gur thug bainisteoir na Síonseir, Páidí O'Shea féin ar a chomathe.
I was up in Cork, I don't even know what I was doing in Cork on the day, and I got a phone call from a number I didn't know. Hi, Colm, Paddy here, and I was kind of thinking to myself, is someone trying to take me on here or what's going on? But he said, yeah, come in Tuesday night, we'd like you to come in training with us for a while. Of course, there was huge joy in me. I couldn't wait to get home to Killarney and tell my parents. My father was kind of very unassuming, so he mightn't say much. He was kind of maybe a bit taken back and surprised when I said it to him. My mother's reaction was a little bit different. She was there, Jesus, I don't know, is it a bit early for you to be going in playing with these big lads? The most nervous part for me was, where will I sit in the dressing room, or will I take someone else's seat, or will he even know who I am? I remember a night in Tralee, Paul Galvin was in there, and we were playing maybe a bit of a practice match, and myself and Paul kind of went at it a little bit, you know, and we didn't know each other great at that point, but I was going to crash into everything because I couldn't live with the regret of going in training with Kerry and not giving it everything. If I was worried about everything that was going on around me, I wouldn't survive. And that probably comes from the background of growing up the way I did and playing against the older kids.
Now, physically, he wasn't fully formed, of course. It took him a few years to fill out and to not look like just a scrawny child that fell in off the street. But football-wise, he arrived fully formed.
Ceap mar fad beidir ní bheith sé ábalta dolisteach ar an barc agus an sort an stíl imirthe bhí aige a chuir bhain. Ach cuinlam an chiaadúra bhí sé gimmart le foireann síontar Ciarí a naig cúnta líis fuair sé cúil an lá chéanna agus bhí sé do chreite.
In that year, he ultimately became one of their most important players. And it was amazing to watch that in a kid.
But there was still, like, I know kind of one comment said, well, I wouldn't like to be relying on the Gooch to win Northern Ireland. You know, he's too small. He's a nice player, can do everything, but will he survive in Croke Park?
Here's a real chance. Still they play around with it, and they find the net through Cooper. Standing off him a little bit. Mike Frank was calling for it, but what a kick. What a fantastic point.
Bhí Colm treis blian do hawlathe a bheith aige, agus é na chéadbliain le foireann síontar Ciarí.
That is delightful football. That's a goal in 4 points.
Ach an meach ar a chumas an chéad chéime le hógant, agus íochtráin ardhacha a bhólasach lethe ceannis pelle a 2002.
We had so many chances in that match. We were up 4 points at half-time.
Owen Brosnan, an ambitious ball in towards Cooper. Gooch looking for a score. Trying to go this way and that. And he's kicked up beauty.
Things were going really, really well for us, but could possibly been up more. Whatever happened in the second half, the wheels came off a little bit.
But it was a nice hot afternoon. It's quite cold and breezy now. This is inside towards McGrain. It comes back nicely. It's the first goal, and it's scored by Oshie.
But all of a sudden, the score gives them oxygen.
It's the Armagh fans to life.
When they go forward now, they score. When we run forward, we're kicking wides, poor decisions and things like that.
Once again, it is Stephen McDowell, and he's put it over the bar. It's his third point. It's all over.
What a result, sure. Fantastic result for Armagh.
Chábhí sa dó, bhí grad amáilte ar buinte amach aige, agus bhí sig na héine an son cé chá maithas a bhí sé, agus gan dát nuair an lesanim de Gooch agus bhí na héine caintear, agus an son 2003, bhí sé go díal ar fad a rís.
ColmCooper popping up at top of the right. There against John White. Decent kick. Great accuracy.
The advent of Armagh in 2002, Tyrone in 2003, well, they set Kerry back initially.
Kerry, 32 All-Ireland titles, Tyrone, none. How relevant is tradition right now?
Probably we shocked Kerry maybe that day, I'd imagine. They probably didn't expect that sort of intensity. Mickey would always been a grip man about bringing intensity to the game, and we really had a show it that day because we always knew what Kerry are bringing to the table, so we had a match them, and they had some magnificent players, and we had to really be at the top of our game. Both had worked out that day, that famous scene in front of the Hogan stand, the boys tackling like mad, and that really set the tone for that day.
Darrow Kinnader, look at the 4 players from Tyrone surrounding him.
It was just a tough year, 2003 for us, but we were just slightly off on the day, and that was the emergence of Tyrone.
McGuigan kicking, and he's put it over the bar. And the fans are cheering on their team, as Kerry have no response so far.
And we just couldn't live with them in that semi-final. Again, that was part of the growing up piece for me and the development piece to say, well, if you have aspirations to win Northern Ireland, you've got to live this game. But I think those 2 years of hurt really fixated me on what I needed to do going forward. It taught me you have to work for everything you get. You got to work hard, and nothing will ever be handed to you on a plate. Me as a person, I needed to become tougher, harder, and a better footballer. And I think the hurt of that drove me on for the years ahead. There's expectation the whole time in Kerry. And And that was probably something maybe I underestimated when I started playing with Kerry, was that, okay, you can go in and play, but as the years go on, the pressure intensifies, you're probably more aware of it around you. It's just because people in Kerry care so much about Gaelic football.
I remember talking to Wishi Fogarty, the great Radio Kerry broadcaster, one time, and he said, like, in Kerry, family comes first, football comes second, and everything else comes after that. To be the focal point of that, as ColmCooper was for so long, that everybody looks up to, that everybody wants to do well, that everybody feels protective of, must have been an incredible way of life for him.
Hard to believe this is his third season playing senior championship football. He's a wonderful, prodigious talent.
In 2004, I put more pressure on myself to perform, so I was just determined that, look, I got to win an All-Ireland medal, and it has to be sooner rather than later. And I looked around the dressing room at the team I had. I goes, we need to be in Croke Park in September.
Stoch an rud sin gút ná, bhí sé an fechan chun cín rudaí bhí tarlú ar an barc, agus sné an bua bhí ge.
That's a great block by Shane Ryan. On as far as Cooper. Everything's going right for the Kingdom. And Cooper knocks it over the bar in impressive fashion.
And my 3 games in Croke Park that year, I think that probably the graph kept rising. I got better and better, you know. For the final, Darragh O'Shea was out and Seamus Moynihan were out. And usually a Kerry team going into an Ireland final without those 2 guys, big questions would be asked about by hook or by crook we were going to win this.
Everybody came to Croke Park thinking, Mayo Kerry, could this be Mayo's year? And he just said no. He just ended the game very early.
I remember the ball being out around the middle of the field.
Eamon Fitzmaurice.
Sticking with the tactic of just going long. Eamon just bulldozed one in on top of us.
Bhí sé gramún cad, bhí sé le teis bogad timpeall agus bhí a gin ar fad cad a bhí sa cheannaige.
And I remember just getting off the ground, and I knew Pat Kelly was close enough to me. And I knew once the Stoke goal was on, that's the street footballer again coming out in me. I learned that in Archinavoody, just knowing my surroundings and what was going on around me. And I was just going off and tearing down a goal, and I knew he wouldn't catch me.
Huge run down towards Cooper. What a lovely catch. Beautiful fluency. He can get a goal here. And he does.
Agus stólam an slíochar sin cad stach ísil dín cool. Bhí sé just dochret ar fad.
Yeah, just emotion in and jumping in the air in Croke Park, like. It was, Jesus, I've scored a goal in Croke Park, but then it was get back into position. That's my favourite goal because it had everything. It had catch, the little basketball pass inside, and the roll into the corner, which is probably one of my trademark scores. I don't tend to blast the ball too often.
It's his 5th goal in championship football. Coach Cooper, he exposed their limitations. He ran through and belted it in past Peter Burke.
That's a lovely amalgam of intelligence, strength and precision. What a goal.
So that's a long time ago now, but still my favourite goal, so I haven't topped it yet.
Johnny Crowley always coming, breaking it down for Gooch. ColmCooper kicking. That's brilliant.
Late on, I think I might have kicked the point, and I just looked up to the big screen near Hill 16 and said, oh, we're good here, we're good.
Kerry have done all they had to do and played some.
My Uncle Dan got onto the field that day. No steward was able to catch him anyway, he was on so quick. So just sharing those memories with your teammates that you trained all year with, the disappointment and hurt of the 2 years previous, that you were back, like you were #1 in the country.
I remember running onto the field, getting with Mahog, and it was magical times, you know, to think that he'd come through all that hard work.
We never kind of pat each other in the back too much as a family, like, but you can feel it in days like that. And it doesn't always need to be said, but you can feel it. And just sitting down having a beer with them after and saying, you know what, this is what it's all about, you know. Probably gave me a taste of what I wanted more of this. I tasted it now, I need more.
It's fantastic. Any kid in Kerry dreams about winning an All-Ireland, you know. From the first time you kick a ball, like, it's all about the centre stage in Kerry, and thankfully we've done it, and heading back to Clare now, so I'm really looking forward to it.
Féiere bhí bhringlóid buinte maithige Colm agus éana chora ile éireann le Kerry. Ach a gáhíl sa cúig, hí tíróin rompa ríist, agus iad a dúrig bob a bhóla ina riachta, báta bhain eile.
By the time the 05 final came around, Gooch was the hottest forward in the country. So it was obvious Tyrone were going to have a plan for him, and that plan seemed to be to try and unsettle him in any way possible.
They obviously had done their homework on me. They wanted to get inside my head a little bit, and they really wanted to test me physically and mentally. So no better man than Ricey to do that. Ricey would come in and he'd have a few words to say, and look, I get that. They were coming in. They saw me as a threat to them.
He faded in on all the Harrington shot. Shada on Gooch. Here off the ColmCooper. Agasta on Kate score and Cliffy Caddish the Hayden.
Bhín Gooch bhí sé dul nótáil her fad an násan.
The Gooch had an incident with Pascal McConnell. Personally, I'm going to say I didn't see it at the time. I was busy maybe running after somebody else. I suppose he got a finger in the eye, and maybe that curtailed his influence that day.
Intentional or not intentional, I don't know, but I got a poke in the eye. It affected my eyesight for probably up to half time, if I'm being honest.
Hánig an cúl bar amach, nána cad go díreach a hit amach ach fuair sé an buile. So fair play the Tyrone, you know, there cad a bhí testáilt agus ach gan dát nuair nach raibh ar imleor I gart chuir sé sin isteach go mór.
And if you factor in Peter Canavan's goal all happening in that crazy 10 or 15 minutes, it was a stage of the game that cost us. And it was really disappointing for me and for everybody else, because the season had gone so well up to then, and it's like someone taking the carpet from under you, you're swept aside. I wouldn't go down the line of blaming referees or goalkeepers or anything. At the end of the day, our performance wasn't good enough on the day. 2006 I found a very difficult year, on the field and off the field. We played a league match with Dr. Crokes on the Sunday. My dad was going in Sunday evening for a couple of pints, and the rundown on all the matches in Kerry that weekend. He said, I'll talk to you tomorrow evening. And he went off to work Monday, I went off to work. Typical Monday morning. He doesn't come home.
As a family, we tried to deal with it as best we could. We stuck together. We had a large family there, and everybody kind of looked after everyone else.
We had a really tough week that week. Family had gone through a lot. My mum was going through a lot. We were playing Dublin in a big league game in Killarney that weekend, and I've chatted with my mum about it maybe on the Thursday evening. She said, you have a match the weekend? I said, we do. And I said, I'm not playing, I don't have the energy for it now after the week we're putting down. So she just said, look, I think Dad would have liked you to play in the match. He wouldn't want you not playing in a big match in Killarney.
Hánig sé síos agus hánig sé isteach mar fear anad agus bhí lucht takeíocht a céirí idir an a bhórálachas an láson. Bhí sé do chréite.
Lord, would stand please and observe a moment's silence as a mark of respect for Michael Cooper of the Dr. Crokes Club in Killarney. And we extend our...
I remember coming on that day and the roar that I got in Killarney, for a league match. The hairs in the back of your neck stand up, and there's emotion and maybe tears, and there's lots of things going on. Again, with my first kicked in, I get a point, and if I thought the first roar was big, the stand nearly comes after this.
O'Sullivan fósa go leis. ColmCooper teac an bugan in cúna thuirteo. Cooper and Tarrant, so not to which are Shessa, and a ship score all in by ColmCooper. A churin the 4 post scored.
It showed me that day that, look, Kerry people have your back, and we were all grieving together, and we kind of get on with everything.
It was great, the supporters were fantastic, and it was great, that he played in that day, and I think it meant a lot to us.
Bheadh sé príomháideach agus cumaidan sé a héal persantach ag chéin agus ach caitheadh go raibh sé sin a chur isteach go mór.
I am one of those individuals anyway who keeps things inside. I probably don't show too much emotion sometimes. I just like to keep things close to me and the close-knit people around me, so that's just part of my personality. I was very young at that time, you know, so I was probably immature and I didn't know how long the grieving process would take. And I remember talking to Dr. Con Murphy, who's the Cork doctor, who I formed a very good relationship with. He said, it takes a couple of years, Colm. He said that to me. We just met socially, and I didn't really know what he meant at the time, but looking back now, I do. It takes time to get over it, and I was always telling everyone I was fine and I was happy, but I wasn't really. There was a piece of me missing. Eventually, I came back to myself. It took a few months, and like I say, completely, it took a couple of years, but for me to find myself as a footballer and get back again, it took a few months. It comes to someone's door at every stage of their life. It probably came to mine a little bit younger, so I found it difficult to deal with.
Derek blian a bhí an róteach níos dúlánaí fós, nuair a animíoch gúch mar chaptain Chirí a 2006, treist an manistíocht captain na fórna Declan O'Sullivan a ágantar lár de Jasca Drochas Bantashi.
I took on the mantle of being captain, and I suppose between me not having form, next thing being asked to captain, maybe it could go two ways. It could inspire and give me the spark I needed, or it could add heaps and heaps of pressure. Declan was one of the greatest players I ever played with, so I knew it was only a matter of time for him to come back in, so I wanted to be able to hand it back to him intact.
This time it's Darragh O'Shea who wins the kick out, pursued there by Paul McGrain, 30 metres out. Up there is Moynihan, played inside, still by Brosnan, he's got it!
Fwy Stuart Gooch, bhain an riocht clothe cenis na hair na mach go ceanasach, agus búna cuimsetheacha ard vacha, agus a seannaid de Corcaig, a nastra go dtíon lá mór.
It was a great honour to captain Kerry for those 3 games. Thankfully we came through them and we were back in another All-Ireland final.
September nights are closing in at the Kerry training camp in Killarney as the finishing touches are applied to preparations for Sunday's All-Ireland football final against Mayo.
Declan was selected for the All-Ireland final. He found new form with the energy he was showing in training. I have so much admiration for Declan. If young players ever needed to look at something, it was that. He went away for a month, he trained his ass off. He got himself back in the Kerry team. It's also the sign of a great player when you're dropped, that you can go away, dust yourself down, find that spark and come back in and lead Kerry to an All-Ireland title, because he gave an exhibition that day in Cork Park.
Declan O'Sullivan, dished off inside to Donaghy, back, goal! Mayo ripped apart, Declan O'Sullivan, the team captain, justifying his recall to the side.
Every player has a different motivation, and for me that day it was kind of obviously for the team to win, but there was a family piece very much attached to that as well, that Jesus, you know, what we've all gone through and the tough weeks and tough months that we've all had, at least this could bring us together a little bit and we can all smile after and come together, and we did that evening in the hotel and the whole lot.
Left or right, he's dynamic.
It was just a really, really sweet one to win.
To stand here and lift to Sam Maguire today. The character and strength he's shown this year, while he lost his father Mike, has been inspiration to all of us. Mike has been a great supporter of this Kerry team in good times and in bad, and I'm sure he's looking down today a very proud man.
Kerry are champions, the Gooch and Declan O'Sullivan lifting Sam Maguire. It's going to Kerry in 2006.
Díre Colm na Crocaig a ríist I 2006, agus bhain idir clothe ceannis na glob amach a gcoinne réna hena crise. Ní raibh an andóibh an lá ardthe sin ach an díomá farraíar. In aonóin an tar a tubasteach sin, díre Colm a ard Chirí ríist agus iad a díre craobh na hÉireann a bhainteach don tarna bliana sa chéile.
You need bad experiences to learn from, to really push you on it. I always learn from him, and I think one of my strengths is I think I learn from him very quickly.
The Gooch of 07 was a very serious man. He was a guy who knew what he wanted, and in 07 he was a challenge for anyone trying to mark him.
The year before was just such a struggle, and it was like I was playing with lead in my boots. But I'd become a new person in 12 months. And that spark was back, that swagger was back. And when you have that, it gives you so much confidence.
Nuair dheoch sé an seilbh sin a bheith an driblóid. Mar haspáin sé an son na skillna bhí aige agus bhí sé go húntaach. Níor chunig mé imró riamh a raibh cócompórdach leis seilbh nó leis an líróid.
He was a deeply unselfish player, which was one of his greatest attributes. But there was a ruthlessness and a killer instinct to him. He had that from very early on. And what it became as the years went by was a really fierce competitiveness.
Nuair fuair sé an seilbh, ní amháin go raibh an cúlaí a bhí ábharcáil idir a blód, bhí gach éon cúlaí eile, mar bhí sé go súil go raibh an líorthóid cangailte dó.
I'd started football with Kerry when I was 18. Gone through a lot in those couple of years, and also maybe my dad dying so young that it just made me think a little bit, is there more to life than football?
Any inter-county footballer, doesn't matter what level you're playing at, it's a 4 or 5 day week. That's the reality of it. You don't have a social life. You're basically cocooned in this bubble.
It happened really soon after the All-Ireland. I talked to my manager and said, look, what are the chances of getting some leave? So I went to America for 3 months, based myself in Chicago. I just did things that I never had the opportunity to do. But it gave me just a release of what that life was like. Because a lot of my friends had immigrated to Australia, or were going doing the 12-month thing, or world travel, or whatever it was. You know what, when I went away, it re-emphasised to me how much football was important to me. And playing with Kerry was, and playing with Dr. Crokes was. And I wasn't near ready to give that up. O'Donoghue Cups, which is East Kerry Championship. So sometimes the hardest championships to win are the local ones against the local teams, because there's quite often skin and hair flying, as they say in Kerry. It's amazing with medals, when you spend all your life winning them, you don't even look at them too often. So there's a nice few here, which is great. So that's the first one with Kerry, 2004. Very special one. Got man of the match that day, so fond memories of that. So one of the funnier medals I have is this one, which is actually a ring with the GA crest in the middle of it. Kieran Donaghy has to take the credit for this one. In the NFL and the NBA, you get the rings for winning the championships. So Kieran, back in 2014, it's engraved on the side of it as well. So everybody who won the All-Ireland got a ring. I think it's the one thing that we can say that over the 70s and 80 teams, they definitely didn't win a ring anyway, but yeah, I'm not sure I could see myself going around the town like that. I should look at them more. That's the thing I'm thinking now as I look at them. I should look at them more maybe and have a fuller appreciation of maybe the things we've achieved. The night that you collect these medals at the ceremony, it's like a release of air. Okay, this is what it was all about. And it's maybe the sense of satisfaction that not every person in Kerry or Killarney or Ireland has these medals. But it's the journey that you will always remember.
The clash of football's most consistent forces, Kerry and Tyrone, between them the winners of the last 5 All-Ireland titles.
2008, our Ireland final, Mickey comes to me at the start of the week and says, you're going to be marking the gooch. Saturday night you're thinking, oh my God, I have to wake up tomorrow morning, I'm going to be marking one of the best players that's ever played Gaelic football in the gooch in the Ireland final.
Is cuineam nar a dairi gooch as agus fi dína cainte agus nach dimmer sé go mar riamh an ag Tyrone. Ní an tíim lei sin, mar is dóilm sa go raibh sé go dtíar ar fans na cluichí sin agus na scór na fuair sé.
I done my best that day, but he was top of his game. He scored 3 magnificent points.
And Cooper, the man who broke Tyrone's hearts many times in the past, gets off to a wonderful start here.
I think the perception of Gooch not doing against Tyrone is misguided. I think the reality is Kerry didn't do it against Tyrone, and that was the problem.
Kerry trying to close it, trying to get men into key areas. Kavanagh kicking, having a go. It's over the bar! Sean Kavanagh puts Tyrone back in front in the All-Ireland final.
You earn All-Ireland titles, and that's why I say you're never lucky you win All-Irelands if you deserve them. Unfortunately, we didn't win that All-Ireland, and again it left a sour taste in our mouth. 3 times now losing to Tyrone.
Tyrone are the All-Ireland football champions for 2008.
03, 05 and 08, they just weren't able to cope with Tyrone's intensity. And I think that was the story of that rivalry, that by the time they finally beat Tyrone in championship, it was 2012, I don't think any of those Kerry players took huge value out of that win, because they knew in the games that mattered, Tyrone were just that meaner beast, and they were just that more ruthless than them.
Tréisio galúnta na Chiaróin, Dil Jack O'Connor mar bhainisteoir Chiarí. Ach níor hosta go harna tréifse Gannis mar bhaileis.
Kerry at home to Sligo. People should say it's kind of formality that Kerry will win. We struggled hugely, could have been beaten.
Tréis an cluiche ag cúnta Sligo, Cúig an Gúch agus Tomás agus bhíidir cúpla piúnta.
Myself and Tomás went for a few pints, not together. Tomás was back in West Kerry, I was in Killarney, and we were supposed to, so look, I said, to hell with this, I'm going for a couple of pints in Killarney in a bit, just to blow off some steam. We were dropped for the Antrim game in Tullamore. It was a little bit over the top, I felt. Kerry people might say, sure, how could you win the All-Ireland with the two boys having a few pints? And, you know, and it's not the couple of pints that were in the world, but maybe there was a reaction that maybe they're not all together if the boys are going off away for pints, you know, so complete rubbish. So that's why you have to become a bit thick-skinned and say, look, whatever's going on in the outside world, that's fine, but when we go in to perform, look, we're together and we'll show everybody in Croke Park how together we are.
In I know in order to the blian a harmola berte, vi Kirinish a blahu. When der clahe canis na hair na mach, clahe a vechen a chogadarog, and I get gorse and Kirkig.
That was as good as Cork team as I played in 2009. They were buzzing, but we were just so determined. We were a hurting team about some of the smart stuff that was written about us throughout the summer, some of the unfair criticism that we got, and we just left all that hurt out in the field. It was great to win the All-Ireland because there was a lot of pressure on us. I remember having a laugh at Tomás after. He goes, thanks for the God we won that All-Ireland, because if we lost we would have been lynched, you know, so we had the final laugh in that.
Sam Maguire goes back to Kerry. They are the winners.
Sa bhliain 2010, bhí Muintir Cooper a fear an Seastáin, agus colmadírig a harna creibh cúnta a bhuach leis na Crócaig, agus iad a túirtaiger chuman áistín the stack.
Certainly when my dad passed away, my mom went to a lot more matches with my sisters, and they encouraged her to not just sit at home and listen to the radio, to actually come and enjoy things that little bit more.
Casey Fusk Macleish, Trusted Huil Cooper and Leotown. I'm sure again Gooch. The Gooch show will Satanila.
I'd won it in 2000 with a team of hardened veterans, and I was the baby in the team. In 2010, I knew that I had to be the senior figure, or at least one of them. So maybe my mom had felt some of that pressure as well, so when we finally landed it, it was special. That's probably one of my favourite pictures, and I have it at home, and probably one of the most important pictures I have in family life and in sporting life.
Mar thora bhuna grócacha gréibh a chunta, ráníoch colm mar chapta an chiarí dem líon gáhílas a héníog. Bhuinidir chluthe canis eileach ina ga clia an trosa, ach trá lá ceartmhaíon.
You're looking at guys crying around you. Losing an All-Ireland final day in Croke Park, even though there's 80,000 people, is the loneliest place you can be.
Agus ní raibh deire dianta ag gathe clia go fáil. Thug an dá éireann aige i chéile ríist ag gluthe le canis na hÉireann I gáhílas a trídíag.
Football had changed spectacularly over the last 3 or 4 years, and now he was sitting in the pocket as a centre forward, and he was just magnificent.
It was a new, fresh challenge and something that I embraced.
What a pass from Colm
stocha bhí úna ar nar dúis, chuna nó broch sé seo, ach bhí sé just nótáil ar fad. The kick passing a bug a bhí sé chur isteach go dtí le héadí Donacha. Ní raibh bleach líon an stop chur leis.
To me, that's really where he showed how good a football he is, that he can adapt from a corner forward to playing centre half forward or a playmaker role.
You saw the full array of his skills in that first half particularly.
It's been the game of the year, maybe the game of the decade.
But Dublin were in the midst of their golden generation.
The sides are level, McManaman still going! He's done it again!
Foréir buig bleach líon násan ach bhí is ceannas na buach faoin tíd an chluitheas an ná cécha más a bhí gúid.
On the back of 2013, I was freewheeling because things were coming so easy and effortless for me because my football was so sharp. I was strong. I trained really well before that Castlebar game, probably as good as I've done going into the semi-final. We were confident as a bunch. We were saying we're a couple of years older, we're wiser, we're more experienced. But it just goes to show in life, and I never got an injury in my life. It just goes to show it can go like that.
Cooper made it well. The spots Crohiega do hen should that Cooper. Agus an Nero Cura Ega Haran Trasla no Tusha Hawk Hunterton. Which I got the hat.
10 minutes into an Ireland semi-final, cruciate, gone. Fractured my knee as well in the same incident.
Hasúlgum nach chéan drug ar tú é seo mar a sé chótáachtas na Crocaigh agus the chéirí.
We were all above and you know, the minute he hit the ground we knew he was in trouble. We kind of had an inkling that there was something seriously wrong.
Everything goes up in smoke. Possibly my career and Crokes' dream of winning an All-Ireland club. It looked like there was no return. For maybe both. It's very kind of strange that year that I got injured in February and my mom had got sick then in March, and her health was deteriorating. My problems were very small considering what she was going through, so it was a particularly tough couple of months for the whole family, really, to be fair.
My mother wasn't the type of lady that would leave that get her down. She was, you know, a strong-willed woman and would keep going and could say, look, that she's fine, and she'd tip away now and keep working away. You rally as much as you can and there's stress on everything, but unfortunately she passed away then in August. That was a tough time. That was tough, and it's difficult when you lose someone close to you like that. So yeah, I probably needed the Kerry piece more than ever.
It is, of course, All-Ireland football final weekend. Kerry, the most prolific county in the history of Gaelic football, are preparing to take on the Ulster champions.
And Eamon asked me to tag out because I was able to do all the warm-up stuff. And he didn't tell me until the morning. He goes, we have a jersey if you like. So I was 28 out of nowhere. Through that tough summer I had, Eamon felt for me that it would be good for me to be part of the group, spending the night before with them and contributing in meetings and things. You still feel like you're there, you know. You still feel like you're playing. The only thing is you can't get out there, you know, no matter what you want to do.
Bhí sé chomáilis na himróí ihe riven chléthe canis an ag dún an gáil. Cínlamsa bhí sé túr cáirdom, teordom, imróir fór na bethe.
Just so much joy at the end of that, you know. For all the guys, the effort. It was the first All-Ireland medal for a lot of those players. So to play just even any little part of that, it was special, particularly after the year that we've had.
I would also like to take this opportunity to thank my own club, Dr. Crokes, for giving myself and Fionn such a fantastic honour to captain this young Kerry side in the absence of our inspirational leader, ColmCooper.
Jill Colm fach na himre le Kiri Ravil sa Cúdiag, ach ní a bhéidir Graimá clia Sam a scaile.
Dublin have won the All-Ireland for
agus ben scéal céanna a ríiste I 2016.
Peter Crowley in front of him, McManaman slipped. Very difficult angle. And he's nailed it.
Come off my injury as well, I was thinking, geez, am I good enough for this level anymore? Am I really showing it? Do I still have the game for this? Going back to Crokes was always a medicine for me, particularly if you'd lost. Pat O'Shea had set out at the start of the year not to win the county championship, but to win the All-Ireland.
But O'Shea is that kind of evangelical presence in Dr. Crokes. He was a coach when Gooch was that high. So what Pat O'Shea says, people listen to.
You got to remember that to play in Croke Park, you're going to have to be dedicated, train hard. And many of the players that have gone before you have all gone through the same route.
That was the goal that he had, to try and win an All-Ireland Club Championship with Dr. Crokes. It was one of the few medals he hadn't won, and you know, he was determined to give that as much of a lash as he could with the short space of time he'd left.
Getting to the final, we've been down this road before. We had come up short against Crossmaglen and we'd come up short in a few semi-finals. And it was a cold, dreary day against Slough-Neil, who had been knocking around themselves to try and win All-Ireland, and they felt it was their time. And even early on, things were dodgy for us. Towards the end of the game, then we kept the ball when we needed to do it, and I think it was a sideline underneath the Hogan stand, and I knew the inbound pass was the most important part because Maurice Deegan was refereeing, and I said, if we get this into Crokes guy, there's only a couple of seconds, it's probably gone. Whereas if we kicked it in and we lost it, he might give them a chance. So I just said, I'm going to take this and just take a bit of responsibility and play a little pass to Johnny Buckley, and before they even got to Johnny Buckley, the whistle went.
ColmCooper Jason fell, a Vuolastach go dtí na Chaptain, Johnny Buckley agus Imidodi na Crococh a déanamh in a Líne, tá an bón a bhí an tastáil a ColmCooper Portugal.
I remember Pat O'Shea just being next to him and he jumping on top of him. I thought he'd actually nearly kill him. He caught him, and you know, it was just fantastic, just raw emotion, just magical.
Agus bhí sé dása héana agus Patty Hiiscint le chéile nar héan réitóir an Lúternach.
The pictures and the actions speak louder than any words could, and there wasn't a happier boy in the world, I'd say, that day than me, and finally landed the medal I cherish so much.
We were over just at the side of the field, and it was great, you know, at that stage to meet him, and it was a very emotional time.
I think they understand what it meant to me, so that's why it became all that kind of emotional and kind of tears and different things that go on. So it wasn't my story, it was the Dr. Crokes story, and the story of the whole group, and the trials and tribulations and the defeats and the injuries and the setbacks we all have had in our career. It was probably the most special time, certainly in a Dr. Crokes jersey, but probably one of the most special in my whole career, that we finally landed the one we really wanted. That was my most difficult medal to win. It took me 20 years to win it, but it's amazing when you show it in that size, what it means so much. Yeah, it's a special one, because that was the one missing from the collection as well before I retired. So, yeah, it's great to have it. That's probably one of my most cherished ones.
Treis an leis dar últin leis na Crocaig, dair colmas mar imiróir idir chunta. Níos déanaíon bhliain sin, reachtálach ihe orime de cholam chun a héal cemúil pelle cheilúra, an cheadú cáidal a héad a agriocht imiróir de chuid an CLG. Reinach an tairgad a gnóíoch cholam agus ráchum an carhanachta.
Delighted when it turned out to be a great night, the first time it was ever done, and I accept people have different views on it. That's completely fine, but what kind of disappoints me in some shape or form is that by having a testimonial or something that's going to bring down the whole GA, it's not going to happen.
I think what we've seen with it is it was a precedent, and he took the fire and he took the heat for setting the precedent of having a testimonial.
I can see a lot more of this type of thing happening. People can begrudge if they do well out of it, that's fine, but I don't begrudge anybody. For players who are going out within so much time, fair play to them in my opinion.
The one thing that I got to realise with him is that he's not led anywhere he doesn't choose to go. Everyone talks about how nice he is, and he's an absolute gent. But you couldn't be the footballer that he became without having a steely edge, without being able to stand up for yourself, and without being able to say, I'll do it my way. And he did it his way.
I'm a GA person, and I always will be. I always will be. So if I'm like Bracker and Eddie O'Connor and all these guys who are going to matches now and still getting the enjoyment and buzz out of it, I still see the fun and the banter that those guys have. And if I'm doing it at their age, I'll be a very happy man.
It's just great to have somebody like that inside Norris Day. He was absolutely fantastic. And he had never forgotten where he came from. Like, he'd always say that if we were speaking to him, he'd always say that like he's a Killarney man, Arch on the Booler man, and will always be Arch on the Booler man, no matter where he'd go. Like.
And what about yourself? What about your ambitions?
Well, hopefully I'll go on and win a couple of county titles or club.
Tá an bón a bhí an tastáil ó ColmCooper Portugal.
And one better Kerry than hopefully.
Beautiful fluency, taking on Kelly. He can get a goal here, and he does. What a prodigious talent this young man is. All of a sudden he's become one of the most talked about young players in the game.